AITA for not allowing my brother and his girlfriend to spend Christmas with our parents? My daughter is 9 and petrified of dogs. Sobbing, screaming, shaking, will literally wet herself by them just being within sight. She is in therapy for it. My brother's girlfriend has a service dog for mental health reasons. We were informed of the dog. Tried one interaction. We had the exact same situation. Crying, wet herself, clung to her dad and would scream if he tried to put her down. My mom told us that they were planning for her to spend Christmas with the family. I said that that would be fine as long as the dog stayed home. I did comment that he's only for mental health and she'll have my brother so she won't need the dog. Desperately. My parents agreed and explained the conditions to my brother and his girlfriend, who apparently broke down in tears. They think I'm alienating her. I disagree and think I'm protecting my daughter's peace. My brother's girlfriend's argument is that her dog is fine and maybe him being friendly before upset her, so she won't let him greet anyone. I know from experience that that does not work with my daughter. I told my parents if the dog will be there we will not be. They have as such declared the dog an unwelcome guest. My brother is angry because this is his first Christmas with his girlfriend and we celebrate it every year with my parents. They should get this year. I don't think a girlfriend is more important than their grandchild and my parents agree. My brother's words have been getting to me though and I do feel awful. So AITA for not allowing them? Is there not somewhat to divide the day so that your brother and his GF can see the parents for part of the day? To those saying that the brother's family is not being given consideration, a girlfriend, especially one of barely a year, is not exactly family. She's a girlfriend, as opposed to a granddaughter, who absolutely does take priority. Yes, this little girl does need therapy. This level of reaction to dogs is beyond reasonable fear. But she is entitled to visit her grandparents at Christmas without being terrified. I am the only one who thinks it's kind of ironic that someone who has a service dog for mental health issues is willing to bring the dog around a 9-year-old kid that is in therapy after a traumatic event with a dog, which then impacts the kid's mental health. If I was the girlfriend, I would have said I won't attend. I don't want to make things worse for the child. It sounds like the girlfriend said she would just hold the dog back and is making light of the impact it would have on the little girl. I assume at least the uncle, brother, knows what happened to the child and kid or would have filled the GF in about it. I get Op's brother being upset because he wants his GF around, but adults being okay with triggering a 9-year-old on Christmas seems ridiculous to me. Edit for typo. NTA. I'm going against the grain here. Because so many people here are so determined the dog and current girlfriend, who might not be around next year, is more important to your family than your child, who is deathly afraid of dogs. The simple fact of the matter is you gave your parents and brother options. Obviously, your parents chose their grandchild over a dog for Christmas dinner. Your brother could have lunch or breakfast with your parents, but he's trying to push for the dinner for whatever reason. Christmas dinner is a family affair, not a parents, son, girlfriend, dog affair. He could have his girlfriend and her dog over earlier in the day and still come to dinner without his girlfriend and dog later. A dog does not come before a child, especially when the child is afraid of dogs. And the dog belongs to a person who may not be in all of your lives in 3 months, 6 months, a year. Good on your parents for choosing your child over a dog. Yes, brother's girlfriend could also leave the dog at home for a couple of hours to have dinner, since she has your brother to support her. And you've said she'll have hospital visits without the dog for days, weeks as well. NTA op. Keep sticking up for your child. NTA. She's a child who literally wets herself at the sight of a dog. I can't imagine I'd be okay with that if I was the brother. I'd think, oh wow, yeah, I don't want to do that to my niece. How can brother and GF think, oh, but this little girl should be totally okay for our sakes? How can they not work around this? I don't care if I get downvoted. She's a traumatized little kid who should get to see her grandparents for Christmas. Brother and GF can come at a different time with the dog or do something separately. Why is the girlfriend's mental health more important than the daughter's? They both have different and non-compatible mental health requirements. Split the time with you parents accordingly. Nah. NTA. Y'all gotta STFU and stop asking, but why is she so scared? Because quite obviously something happened. And like it's for a girlfriend. Not even a fiancé or wife? Yeah, no, that's not that important like at all. I promise you. Not over the safety and well-being of a child. A child who, if you all cannot read, is literally in therapy to work on the issue. So maybe next year will be different. This year, girlfriend and her dog can stay home and try again next year after some therapy if all works out. One of you should go for Christmas Eve and the other for Christmas Day dinner and swap that around every year. NTA. These two individuals cannot coexist in the same space due to their individual mental health illnesses. The grandparents are aware of this and have been a decision as to who they will accommodate. The grandparents may not see the girlfriend in the same light as their 9-year-old granddaughter, and in all likelihood prefer to create lasting Christmas memories with their granddaughter over a potential deal. Hopefully, people understand that there is a hierarchy to life and grandchildren usually come first to grandparents, even over their own kids. NTA. All these people saying YTA seem clueless and like they haven't actually read the post. The sheer number of commenters who say the child needs therapy when the post clearly states she's in therapy is ridiculous. The child is in therapy. The child has PTSD from a relatively recent traumatic event. OP has chosen to not attend functions, family or otherwise, that involve the child's trigger. Until or unless the okay is given by her therapist, all of that is fair. OP has stated in other comments that if they come across a dog in public, they just leave or walk away. OP's parents have set a no dog rule for Christmas dinner. It's their house, so they get to set the rules. It's a private residence, so no one can force them to accept a dog service or otherwise. OP's brother was offered options but doesn't like them. He doesn't have to like them, but those are the options given by his parents, the dinner hosts, and he needs to pick one. Or he could be a grown-up. Except that his young and traumatized niece can't handle a dog right now and go celebrate Christmas with his girlfriend's parents. I feel like a lot of these YTA are actually just coming from the subset of the population that can't understand that some people just might not like dogs. They're so obsessed with dogs they can't ever fathom that someone, not even a 9-year-old child suffering from DOGRELATED trauma, might not want to interact with their dog. She's 9. Get over it. The GF is an adult. Why don't you say the same thing about her? Yes, it's for a valid mental health reason, but did you read what the poor child goes through when she's around dogs? And she's supposed to just deal with that at her grandparents' place for Christmas? To be clear, I don't think either of them should have to suck it up or deal with it. I just don't think they should be interacting ATM because their issues are incompatible. And I doubt, if it's a mental health support dog, that locking it away in a garage is going to be any different for the GF than leaving it behind altogether. But I do think a lot of people have a blind spot when it comes to dogs and just see, person doesn't like dog, and immediately think ah without the slightest bit of critical thinking. NTA. Commenters seem to ignore your daughter's real mental health issues. PTSD due to dogs. In favor of the girlfriend's mental health issues. One can't just trump another, but when a dog literally causes the issues, then the dog needs to stay home. It's up to your parents to decide what is more important, and they did. Info. What is the dog's exact purpose for the girlfriend? I'm guessing you don't know. So might I suggest you make an effort to find out? This is a lousy situation all around. And I understand why you've made the demands you have. But it wasn't really fair for you to make them without knowing the reasons the GF has this dog. Or if it's a service animal versus an emotional support animal. It's hard to make a judgment. Sit down with your brother and or his girlfriend, obviously without your daughter, and talk it out. You mentioned in another comment that your daughter is being watched for PTSD. How do you know the GF doesn't also have it? And that's why she has the dog? Have a conversation. Be understanding. And hopefully come to a compromise. You might end in the same place where you can't do celebrations together. But at least you will have made the effort to see all sides and try to make it work for everyone. You are not an for refusing to have your daughter and the dog in the same room together. For how everyone is approaching this problem. Everyone needs to fully accept that it is not possible for everyone to be in the same room at the same time this year. Everyone should adjust their thinking and planning accordingly. This means you have to accept that Sil needs her dog. Sil needs to accept that your daughter can't handle the dog this year. Sil needs to stop viewing this fact as a personal rejection. Your brother needs to drop the idea that his and your SIL's preferences should take priority over everyone else's because it's their first Christmas together. You need to stop trying to frame this as a question of who is more important. Everyone needs to stop. In fact, everyone needs to stop thinking of Christmas as a single event on a single day. 'Cause that can't happen this year. Many families have multiple Christmases for all kind of reasons. Your family should be one of them. Let your parents decide who they want to invite to their home and on which days. To help your Sil feel more welcome, perhaps you could separately invite your brother and Sil to your home while your daughter spends quality time with her grandparents. Good luck. Poor little girl. Separate visits brother and GF Christmas Eve of morning or night and op with kid just for dinner. NTA. Your daughter has an intense trauma response to dogs. It's so significant that she is in therapy. You made an attempt to see if she could be around the service animal and it did not go well. You are not saying or doing anything discriminatory against his girlfriend nor her need for a mental health service dog. All you are doing is protecting your daughter. They are adults. Your daughter is a child with complex trauma, so significantly debilitating that she is in therapy for it. In a perfect world, you wouldn't have to choose. Under these circumstances, it fully agree that your daughter spending Christmas with her family is more important than your brother bringing his new girlfriend. NTA. People seem more concerned about the dog than the people. Definitely more concerned about hurting the feelings of a grown woman who is dating a family member than traumatizing a 9-year-old who is a family member. If I were the girlfriend, I'd be like, okay, we can visit another time. Her reaction doesn't make sense to me. Maybe she is planning to be a part of the family, but it's clear that she's not there yet. The grandparents are choosing to spend Christmas dinner with a child-in-law, and a grandchild over a child's girlfriend, and a child's girlfriend's dog. Makes sense to me. Why isn't the brother happy visiting at another time of day? Seems reasonable to me. People seem to be worried about alienating the girlfriend, or maybe the dog. But has anyone considered how rejected a 9-year-old would feel if grandma and grandpa chose her uncle's girlfriend over her? or if her parents ignored her anxiety and forced her to be in the same space as the dog. In another 10 years she'd be posting on our estranged adult child. NTA. Keep supporting your girl. Going against all the comments I've seen and saying nah. Both your child and the girlfriend have mental health reactions to the dog. Just on opposite ends. One cannot function so with the dog near. And one cannot function without it. Your daughter is too young to be able to regulate her emotions and rationalize her fear. And her symptoms seem too severe to start exposure therapy with dogs. The girlfriend is an adult. And while I absolutely emphasize with her having an emotional support animal myself, presumably she has learned strategies to help her through things. Even if dog isn't there, it is perfectly reasonable to not want any sort of dog near your child with an intense dog phobia. It is also perfectly reasonable to be offended when asked to leave medical equipment, like a service dog, at home for the sake of someone else. She, and your brother, are within their rights to stay away because the dog is banned. Just like you're within your rights to stay at home if the dog comes. The decision about the dog, and therefore who chooses to stay home, is entirely up to your parents. I'm not going to say anything about the parents' decision, because that's not the question being asked. Before anyone comments. Yes, I know that ESAs and service animals have very different qualifications. It's not clear if OP knows that, though. NTA, you have your reasons for not wanting to be there with the dog. For the sake of your daughter. Your brother and his GF have their reasons for needing the dog. You should both be able to have time on Christmas with your parents. So have separate events. One does brunch, lunch. One does dinner. Your daughter is in therapy, so hopefully at some point she is able to be around them and you can share Christmas together again. But expecting your brother's GF to be able to handle an evening without her dog is as unreasonable as expecting your daughter to go through that trauma being around the dog. The two situations are just incompatible at the moment. Info. Is absolutely everyone unable to work with potential solutions instead of just no? Absolutely not. For a group of adults. You're all horrible at constructively communicating. 3 hours meal hosted at the Grandparents is no longer an option. It requires at least one of their kids being excluded. You and your bro can host now. Take a day each and swap next year. Info. Service animal or support animal? If a true service animal, do you know for what? If you would share without giving too much info. When did your daughter's traumatic event occur?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.